boy, some things never get old, man. Another one's there. Underlaps. Arteta shout me, man.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on. With an introduction like that, what more is there to be said, people? People deluded, I'm back again. Big up you lot across Twitch and YouTube. Make sure you're cross-following. Smash the like button. Get those creative juices flowing. Because as much as I like speaking about Arsenal, I'm tired of hearing my voice and my points of view, people. Football is subjective, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, people, big up you lot. Hope you're all having a great start to the week. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. Now, apparently, Mikel Arteta has been doing the media rounds, and he's offered his thoughts in relation to our transfer window, our existing players, and what we want to achieve next season. And then obviously the Athletic have offered a bit of an insight, and there's the Morenos and the Nico Williams and all that transfer stuff. Can't forget Ricardo Calafiori as well. So yeah, people, it is what it is. Big up yourselves, man, and the usual suspects. Man said off topic, but Foden was England's problem. Bit harsh, you know, bit harsh. I do think there's a wider conversation to be said about Phil Foden. I think he's a generational talent. I think he's one of the most naturally gifted footballers this country has to offer and has produced. But I just think with Phil Foden, he's the only player that's talked about that like that. When it goes wrong, question marks are not asked. In the same vein of Bukayo Saka, etc., etc. It's the second European competition that he's been built up to be the poster boy and failed to deliver. And it's been 3 major tournaments. I mean, the man's 24, still talk about him like he's 17, 18. He's a 24-year-old father of 3. Boy, I just wish that everybody was held to the same accounts. Now, I do think when he gets a bit of a run playing in the number 8 role, he'll be a lot better. And also, to be fair to Phil Foden, just like every attacking player or the whole 11 out there, you know, Gareth Southgate, unfortunately, is the manager. You're going to be crippled in that regards. We were the only team failing to play out from the back. We're kicking it long. You got no plans of how to progress play from Pickford into midfield and so on and so forth. We can't press together. The midfield was disillusioned. You know, we invented issues of our own, and that's ultimately why, again, it's another tournament with nothing to speak about with England. Top draw, me old China. Love your work. Happy days to you and yours. Derek, appreciate you, and big up you because I know you're from Australia. S, appreciate you. No, man, it's the Kane curse. I mean, Kane ain't playing for Spurs anymore, so I'm not running the agenda, man. But I genuinely think it's ultimately everything has to go to the manager. You can't just sit here and blame the manager, but win or lose, you need to take accountability. The team is a reflection of you, and even more so because unlike club football, international football, you've got a couple of breaks, but you don't have every day to work on something. In the same way, if you're Mikel Arteta, you're training with the boys day in, day out, so you need to find a system and a framework and get those players in. And I think, you know, you look at, I know all of, you know, it's come out, Jude Bellingham's been playing with a shoulder knot, Kane's not been fully fit as you'd expect, but Jude Bellingham, great initial start to life at Real Madrid. Kane, disappointing in terms of trophies, but a lot of goals. Bukayo Saka, I don't need to spend long. You know what he brings to the table. Phil Foden fixed up his big mouth and said I was the best player in the Premier League. Cole Palmer, amazing footballer. Kelby Maino, young, amazing footballer. Declan Rice doing quite well. If everybody's looking shit, pardon my French, it's on the manager. Respectfully to Pickford, because I think he's done well for England. Mark Gurr, he did well. But if it was to break it down, you're talking about the defenders. Now, if you're praising defenders week in, week out, that means your attackers are not doing anything really. And, you know, it's backwards and it's sideways. And I don't really want to get into this Euro chat. And we just move on to 2026. As long as Brazil, Jamaica or England bring something home, Barbados as well is what it is. Can't wait to hear what Arteta has to say. Our transfers always go really slow. I hear that. And you're not wrong. I mean, it's the 23rd of July. Time is moving quickly, innit? Big up you lot, smash the like button. But I always say I'll reserve judgment until the window's closed. We don't know what the club are doing on the back burners. And obviously, we're just coming around from the Copa America and obviously the Euros. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of, I guess, factors at clubs. You know, players that were expected to move on might not move on. Players that were expected to not be available might not be available. Obviously, you look at someone like Nico Williams. Seems that he's got his heart set on Barcelona, but you know, if there's any reason as to why Barcelona move away, not just Arsenal, Chelsea, actually Aston Villa and Newcastle have been linked. Paris Saint-Germain have thrown their way into the mix, man. If you can't see that, you're welcome to reasonably discuss it. I can demo that. Fitting Foden in was suffocating the squad. Yeah, to a degree, it's got square pegs in round holes. 100%. There is an element of that. You know, he's trying to fit everybody in, and for me, it looked like nobody really had a plan of what to do. Foden looked lost. Obviously, Saka is Saka, and the one thing I would say with Saka for the Euros is, to see him behaving like a black Iron Robin, like having an inevitability about him cutting off that right-hand side off onto his left and not being stopped. I don't really see that on a consistent basis at Arsenal, really and truly. So it definitely is. You know, Foden, if it wasn't Phil Foden, probably could have got dropped. But that left-hand side was atrocious. It don't matter who was on that left-hand side, in my opinion. You know, I do think I'm not a fan of scapegoating. I do think it's crazy how Harry Kane and Phil Foden are not getting the Jude Bellingham treatment. Like, you would think it's all Jude Bellingham's the reason England didn't do anything. And again, I'm not for blaming people. I think Gareth Southgate, he's a great man. One thing I'll always admire Gareth Southgate about is actually nothing to do with football. When it's come to, let's be honest and address it in the room, when it's come to talking about racism and all of these kind of things, he stood up tall, and I really respect him for that regard. And as much as I'm criticizing Gareth Southgate, in my 29 years, if you're older than me, fair enough, you know, but I've seen us have Ashley Cole, Wayne Rooney, David Beckham, Joe Cole, the list goes on, Steven Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, the list goes on of all those great players and predecessors to what we see right now, right? But Gareth Southgate's team's done a lot better than them, really. I've seen you get to finals and semis and all of these kind of things. I definitely ain't got Mikel Arteta on the show, man. Now, you know, it's just the title of the video, man. Definitely not. Would love to one day. They even made Jude Bellingham and Declan become LMs, man. All of a sudden, Foden's holiday to be the best ever. Bakayoko and Gyökeres would be perfect. I've given up on the Gyökeres thing. You never know, but I don't know. It's a thing where I think Sesko is not. I'm not saying Sesko is better than Gyökeres or whatever, but for whatever reason, whether it was Sesko's prior to signing that new deal, whether it was his release clause, his age, his profile, his availability, it being a market opportunity, it seemed that everybody aligned at Arsenal was kind of on doing that. Where you look at, for me, Ivan Toney, 1 minute was on it, then we're not. Then you look at you look at Gyökeres, it's like people are convinced, everyone likes him, but not everybody's unanimous in their decision to bring him into the club. And we have seen that if that is not the case, then we're not going to bring people in. But also a bit of a hypocrite when you look at kind of the talking points coming around with this pending Calafiori deal. You did see The Athletic, because we covered it in, I think, Friday, you know, in the Friday show, people. We covered it. You know, they said that everybody at Arsenal wasn't convinced with Calafiori's addition, not because of his ability, because of obviously how good we've been defensively, the statistics, you know, the finances around that. And now Arteta got his man, really. I'm happy to have Calafiori. I don't want to keep triggering PTSD, but come on, Arsenal fans. Bellerin, Cedric, Marie, Mustafi, Socrates, Rob Holding, Callum Chambers. When I said Rob Holding and Callum Chambers, I'm not going to lie, I don't know why, I just think of Mohamed Salah and Mane. You know, we had a lot of chuckle brothers. I think David Luiz had mistakes, but he was a lot better than these lot, and he was a lot better than what people give him credit for, and he was actually good for the young players. But David Luiz, now look at us, you've got Timber, you've got Benjamin White, you've got, you know, on paper, assuming it goes through, you've got the Calafiori, you've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel, you've got David Ryan Ramsdale on paper, you've got a wealth of great defensive options and good problems. Tomiyasu, I know he's injured, and the versatility that these players provide up front. I think I speak for every Arsenal fan, or the majority of those, where we would all love an inside forward or a striker or one of the two. But I think without that, I'm not saying I'm happy, but there's some good options. It's not that there's not good options in midfield for me, but I'm not convinced. You know, you look at up front and you look at defensively, Bardi, well, not even that, wholeheartedly defensively, the point I'm making rings true for them. Apart from Trossard, who's obviously 29, we've got longevity. In the midfield, you've got more questions than answers. Is Jorginho a quality player? 1,000,000%. Partey, a quality player? 1,000,000%. Fabio Vieira, you've got one more season for me to be behind you, really, because I think you've got something. It's well known. I'm a big fan of Smith Rowe. It's going to be a sad day when he departs. Declan Rice and Odegaard are there. But if we kind of park off the 10 and focus on the two behind the 10, which is people likely to play instead of Declan Rice or next to him, there's more questions than answers. Jorginho's a quality player, but we all know the game state. When it's an NBA match, kind of end-to-end stuff, for me, Jorginho struggles. When it's a chess match and them kind of things, that's Jorginho. And I also believe Jorginho played a lot more than Mikel Arteta had been banking for. Thomas Partey is a good player. But as I said his name, there was probably a term or a word that you lot probably just said to your screens or smartphones. It was injuries. Obviously, they're both 30-odd. Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe and Kai Havertz, when we start getting into that kind of territory in the left 8 row, I can't say everyone's unanimously convinced. So for me, a central midfielder needs to arrive, whether it's this Moreno guy, whether it's Zubimendi, whose links have gone quiet. At least we know we're finally not getting either Onana, Telemans, or what's the other one that was always linked with us? Onana, Telemans, Douglas Luiz, because in the last 12 months or so, these lot have all moved new clubs or so. So it is what it is. You do on paper have Tini, Zinchenko, and Kivior. Kivior, I don't know now, because it depends, man, because I've gone over this and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but when it comes to keeping Zinchenko or Kivior, I'm a bit conflicted, For my natural bias would be Kivior. He's younger. I don't think his wages are on par with Zinchenko. I think there's a bit more there. But if it's a finance thing, for me, it looks like Kivior is more likely to have more interest and bring more money into this football club. But then when you look at it, you hear Arsenal want a loan with an obligation to buy if we're not selling him permanently. So that tells me Arsenal, it's not a thing where, Kivior, you go out on loan, play some games, get a bit of confidence, improve yourself, and then maybe you'll kind of push on. It seems that the club's kind of done in that regard. And then you look at someone like Zinchenko, who's got 2 years left on his deal, for all the wealth of experience and him introducing this inverted role people, the fact that he's got 2 years left, changed agents, is that adding fuel to the fire? We have heard Newcastle and Bayern Munich have been linked with Zinchenko, but they've gone quiet, really and truly. I would like, in reality, there's an opportunity to keep both. Now, I'm sure they're not going to be happy with the footballing being played. But then, as I said, I'd rather keep Kivior. But at the same time, I might actually, if I was Mikel Arteta, I might bank on Zinchenko just because I know he's got a winning pedigree. With the greatest of respect to Kivior, I think he's got a winning pedigree. Whatever you say about Zinchenko, we go on Wikipedia, we'll be here all day with all the silverware he's won. And I think he's braver than Kivior. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we all know the cons to Zinchenko's game. But he's more likely to try things. I think Kivior plays within himself, and I'm not convinced with Kivior at left back, whether it was asking a bit more of Benjamin White on the right back when he was having to play more of a traditional fullback, or when he was in that inverted role. I think Kivior lacks a lot of confidence. Other than that, I think he's a decent player. There's a reality where you keep both. There's a reality where you could sell both and just simply keep it moving, man. If Smith Rowe leaves, then we need to get an Eze, Dani Almo to support Odegaard. I'm here for that, but then you could argue you've got young Ethan, who I don't expect to be a main kind of player like that next season, but could be and should be, given those Reece Nelson minutes and more. I actually think in the long term, Ethan is a 10 or an 8. In the short term, he can help us out wide as well as in the 10. God forbid, but if assuming Gabriel Jesus is fit, I think the first option to play ahead of Odegaard, if Odegaard's injured or missing, would actually be Kai Havertz. Now, on the ball, there's no contest. No one's trying to watch Kai Havertz on the ball. Big him up, though. Odegaard is, for me, the most enjoyable footballer in terms of footballing IQ and all of that jazz in our squad. The only reason I think it'd be Kai Havertz is because, instead of Odegaard, is because off the ball, the pressing and all of that stuff, Kai could do that. You have got Fabio Vieira. On paper, you have got Smith Rowe. I do think, we could do with another guy that can play in the 10 role, obviously a striker. But where I look at those two roles, I could be wrong. I think that's parked off until next summer. I'd love Dani Almo. It seems like he could be going Barcelona. If there is some finances or a willingness to get a deal done, then get it done. Eze is more than welcomed at the football club, but are we going to activate his release clause? I'm not too sure. And he's also a versatile player, man. How did Zinchenko stop fall so low? How can he not have a market? I wouldn't say he's not got a market, but to us fans, based on what's being reported, Kivior is linked with. And again, these clubs, how far does the interest go? Because these Italian clubs, it doesn't seem like they're prepared to buy him permanently. It's obligations and IOUs and things. But every day we wake up, and again, Google and reports and what agents are saying and what's actually happening in the world of football are very different things. But we don't hear anything with Zinchenko. Sorry, you never know. But you don't hear anything. There was Bayern Munich links, they've gone shut. There was Newcastle links, they've gone. Every day, Kivior's got the ACs, the Inters, the Bolognas, the Napolis, the Romas. And in fact, that's been the case of Kivior since he signed for this football club. So it just seems like there's more of a market there. And I think they're both in the same boat. I don't know how much Tomiyasu's injury impacts stuff, but I think, you look at the Reece Nelsons, the Nketiahs, Tavares, Lokonga, sadly Tierney, even though he doesn't deserve that. That's one guy I think Kivior's ahead of in the pecking order. They're guys that, in my opinion, the club are trying to get you gone. And then some players might want to leave. And then I think you look at the Kivior. I think you look at Kivior, Smith Rowe, Zinchenko to a slight degree, Thomas Partey to a slight degree, Gabriel Jesus in that, and people of that ilk in that. The club's not going to force you out, but I think they're receptive to offers. And obviously, every player in the world has a price, whatever that is. But I think if offers are placed, then the club will be more receptive to accepting and doing a deal than they've ever done before, man. Really and truly. Everyone cheap rates us. But to be fair, that's why I like what we're hearing, that we're trying to really and truly, you know, you look at Aaron Ramsdale and Ketia, you know, we're trying to make clubs pay a decent amount of money. Also, why rest on your laurels? We need to be looking at ways to fine-tune this side year in and out. We are not the finished article, 100% in agreement with you. I agree. I don't think, to be fair, whether they go about it in the way that we like and whatnot, I don't think that the club are resting on their laurels, because at the end of the day, I know when we talk about fans, there are some fans that are very negative, and for what it's worth, I don't think people are right or wrong, but I think when you go against logic, there's issues. I think there's some fans that just love misery, and the very fact that we haven't won a title or any significant trophy, despite the uptake we're taking, nobody cares, and it quite frankly diminishes everything we're doing / done / the progress we're making. Likewise, I do think on the other skip of that, I think, and I don't think both sides are wrong, but I do think there's some fans that are certified losers. You know, they're just happy to be, it's to taking part that counts, and things of that ilk. And for me, I love what Mikel Arteta is doing. I love what he's doing as a manager. But for me, if I rate you this highly and rate what you're doing, then we need to get over the line, really. And fortunately, the manager and the players, they say they're not happy with what we've done. So I don't think we're resting on our laurels, because I don't think we can afford to, really. You know, maybe if you won 2 Premier League titles and the champs, there could be an air of complacency, but we've achieved nothing. Last season was great. Don't get it twisted. You know, top 6 record, was beating teams or not losing. I was living comfortable in the group chat. The only times it's been long for me in my group chat is when we went out of the Champions League, didn't get embarrassed, and obviously when we didn't win the league title, and when we lost to Fulham and Aston Villa. Other than that, top 6 records was great. There was a point in the season where we hit a blip. We came out of that kind of December period great, smashing teams in. Opposition fans are leaving at halftime. You're seeing what Saka is doing. You're seeing the defensive statistics, record-breaking wins, and many record-breaking things that we did in that season. But fundamentally, 20 years from now, it's not remembered. At best, the last 2 seasons are only going to be remembered if we go and win the league now or next year or do something of significance. And that's seen as the catalyst for change, essentially, man. So, yeah, man. Big up Arteta, but we need to remember this ain't Arteta FC, it is Arsenal FC. So I do think there needs to be balance. And as I was just alluding to, where you've got the over positive, like they're both toxic, to be fair. The positive toxic fans that do too much, and they sit here. I think the stupidest thing I've heard is, I'm happy we went out of the League Cup because we would have had a condensed fixture schedule list. What the hell are you talking about, man? Like, we want to win stuff. And then obviously you've got the negatives that people try and diminish anything these players are doing. I don't think either side is wrong in principle, but context needs to be applied, and you need to find that middle ground, man. Zenko, who is that? He's always on the bench, which doesn't help his sell price or interest from other clubs. That is a factor, essentially, man. 3 honours for Arteta so far. He has it in him, trust that. I mean, we just need Pep Guardiola to leave, man. We just need Pep Guardiola to leave, because for me, I don't know if we're going to win the Prem next year. I hope to God we do, but it's Pep Guardiola's potential last season. He's won 4 in a row, 5 in a row sounds lit. Is he going to allow us this time? So if that isn't the case, yeah, now I do think United are getting the wheels back in motion in a positive sense. I do think Chelsea will stumble across a fix. I do think that. But you look at Chelsea right now, they're in a bit of a transitional period. United are in a transitional period. Ten Hag come out the other day and said they're not ready to win no Premier League or anything like that. We don't know what Liverpool's going to look like. I do think City will always be City, and City will always win stuff, but they've not only got the finances and all of that stuff and the great players, but they have a generational manager, arguably the greatest ever manager, not just in this country, but in Germany, in Spain, and in world football. They're not going to have that when he goes. They're not going to have that. They're going to have a great manager. But my point is, it feels like it will become somewhat of an open season, a free race. So I want Arsenal to be prepared for that. Like, if everyone else is taking time to cook their meals and we've got our stuff prepared, let's run, let's bag some trophies, and wherever that takes us, it takes us. Yeah, he's built stuff, but at the same time, what does it mean, really? And I agree with your Department of Defense, but what does it mean? What does it mean? We've got a great bunch of players, we've got a great manager, but we haven't won anything, essentially. We haven't won anything. You know, and at some point, I'm not trying to be the bearer of doom and gloom, but you look at Saliba, Saka, they're all young, impressionable players, establishing themselves. At some point, they're going to be in their mid to late 20s and think, boy, just like when Henri kept it moving when we came to the Emirates. I love this club, but I want to do certain things. You know, my biggest fear is actually Arteta not winning something here beyond the obvious, because you're going to be a great manager somewhere. You're still a baby in terms of managerial stuff. Make sure it's here, really. At the end of the day, it's about winning, and we've spent a lot of money. If we're really the best team in the Prem / one of the best teams, if we're one of the best defensive sides, now it's firmly about getting over the line. Like, you look at us in the transfer market, do we really need to sign a gazillion players? Now, we do not have the Galacticos. We are not blessed with that kind of quality. I'm not saying we're the bee's knees, but you know, in the last 2 years, definitely this season, do you really need 100 players? We need a bigger squad, yes, but in terms of, you know, floor raisers, that's another debate. But curtain raisers, you get a striker, you get a centre mid, you get another versatile attacker. You get the Calafiori deal, which looks like it's progressing over the line. We're laughing, really and truly. Arteta has won 1 trophy. Community Shield is not a trophy. English Super Cup, man. English Super Cup. Do you and it's a bit harsh, man. Do you honestly believe Pep is leaving at the end of the season? You never know, but that seems to be the rhetoric, man. Sad to say, Ten Hag has had a more successful time in 2 years at United than Arteta at Arsenal. Only things that matter is not context, but success. I mean, history books. At the end of the day, Ten Hag has 2 trophies at Man United. He could walk away, and you're not wrong. You know, on that basis, you're not wrong. But honest in your hearts, I'm not saying you would trade silverware for that. Man United fans know in their hearts they would rather Arteta than Ten Hag, or rather Ten Hag had doing what Arteta is doing behind the scenes and as a club, and then Arsenal winning those things, because we're setting ourselves up for stability. And that's something you're seeing for all the 2 trophies. United are doing that now. They're trying to get their transfer strategy on point. They're trying to bring in players. You know, they're bringing in directors of football and doing all these things. They're trying, you know, even Ten Hag is getting his coaches and whatnot. So yeah, man. It is what it is in that regards. We're going to get into everything in a sec, people, but keep your thoughts coming. Zubimendi would be lovely. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of his, but stream chasing, man. Calafiori, Bakayoko, Gyökeres in a defensive midfielder. Big up DG. Listen, big up Calafiori. Gyökeres would be great. And Bakayoko is a young, impressionable kind of winger. And I'm not criticizing it, but would we look at those signings and be like, yeah, you know what, we're winning the league? Because it's, as much as I think it's about getting over the line, the reality is, in the last 2 years, I don't think we've lost the league because of City. You know, history would be kind to us, not the season that's just gone, the one before that, in a sense of, you know, City won the treble. On the face of it, you lost out to a side that was touched by the footballing gods to win the treble and do all those things. But in my heart, take nothing away from City. We lost that because of that. We lost that because of what we did or didn't do. Just like last season, you look at the December period where there was various points. You look at the Aston Villa game. You look at the Fulham away and Fulham at home. We shot ourselves in the foot. Now we all know you can't win games all the time. You are going to drop points. But we're unfortunate in that in the last 2 years, I think we've done enough to win the league. Unfortunately, you've got that big bad City side. So is it really? So there isn't too much margin for error where this race is concerned. So it's almost an impossible job, man. Do you think Nweri gets more minutes this season? He should do, if I'm honest with you. What are your thoughts on Obi-Martin possibly leaving? You've got one life to live. If young Obi-Martin thinks that Arsenal, Man United, all these teams he's being linked with are going to offer him more money, if that is the case, or a better footballing project, go and do your thing. I do think there's a lot of people have not watched 90 minutes from Obi-Martin. I think he's going to have a great future. He's still a very young man where football is concerned. You know, we know strikers peak late, but a lot is being made of a player that many fans haven't seen play 90 minutes. If he wants to go. I know for a fact United are sniffing around certain Highlanders that are very good. If they go and get those players, then you ask me that question again, I might say something different, but go do your thing. In 60 years of watching football, Community Shield has never been an honor. You kids ain't changing the truth. Super Cup now, boy, we have traditions and you youngsters. I hear that in a circle. But to be fair, in a circle, Sir Alex Ferguson, the most decorated British, or better yet, Scottish manager, that's listed on his honours. But totally get that, DJ. I'm happy with what Arteta is doing. Still major improvements to make from his perspective, but going in the right direction. But again, money spent, he should have had more success. I agree with that. I think, you know, this ain't well, it really is Mighty Ducks or Coach Carter vibes kind of at Arsenal Football Club. But, we can't act like we're buying and I'm not criticizing it because I like the fact that we're getting certain unknown players, making them good. Arteta's made some unpopular decisions on certain players and they've worked out equally. Declan Rice, 100 odd million, nobody, £100 million bargain. But we can't act like money hasn't been spent. And for me, with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, Arteta, you listen to the way the guy speaks, like he knows he needs to win stuff, because in the grand scheme of things, obviously Arteta can't have it all his way. But in my opinion, when you disregard the Cronkies and those kind of people, and we just look at Edu and Arteta gets his way. If Arteta wants it, it's going to happen. So with all of that, you need to do your thing. Arteta is 50-50 with talent ID. Either he finds a good player or is a complete waste. That's a bit harsh. I disagree. I even look at even internally. He played Martinelli when the time was right. Played Saliba when the time was right. Brought Gabriel in. Fair enough. Partey, everybody knows he's a good player. Brought Partey in, and it's not been because of ability why he struggled. Tomiyasu's been great. Everybody had something to say on Aaron Ramsdale and Benjamin White. Fair to say they're all right. There's still question marks on someone like David Raya. Fair to say he's doing his thing. Everyone can see what Timber's on. We all know Calafiori is going to be a hit for this club. Fair enough. Trossard and Jorginho have done something. Nobody, including myself, wanted Kai Havertz potentially at the club. And I still think we need a striker, but that's worked out. What else? Of course, there's been multiple L's. Lokonga did not work. Tavares did not work. Kivio has not worked, whatever people say. I think Zinchenko's worked to a point. We've got what we've paid for with him and Gabriel Jesus. Who else hasn't banged? William didn't bang. Cedric didn't bang. Ceballos, Odegaard was a hit. I almost forgot that he signed Odegaard. So I think it's about 60-40, but yeah. Something tells me if we get Moreno, we'll stop at that for centre mid, which would be a big mistake. I don't think we're bringing in two central midfielders. Maybe if Partey or Jorginho, which Jorginho signed a new deal, then you might see something in that regards. But we're not gonna bring in two. I would love to, David. I'm with you. I'd love to, but I think realistically, you get one this summer. When Jorginho and Partey leave, you might get another one next summer. I dream of a world of having Declan Rice, another 6, and maybe another 8. Like so, 3 of them kind of, or even 4 really. If we don't get players in, we might not win the Prem this season due to tired legs from lots of competitions. We need a bigger squad. Big up my guy, Armenio, man. A man said English Super Copa de English. Have some respect, biggest trophy circumference-wise as well. Hey, you're shameless, but that's why you're my guy. Vieira's not lived up. Vieira, question marks, undoubtedly Vieira. I love Vieira, but it's more at this moment, I love the illusion of what Fabio Vieira is for Arsenal Football Club rather than what I've seen, because I've seen some great cameos, the start of the season last year, but it's like, he's on the bench, comes off the bench, impresses, gets a 1-2 start, bit mixed, gets injured, the cycle continues, really. I love what Fabio Vieira could be. He's versatile, he's adaptable. I think he's got one of the best final balls at the club, but we never see it, really, and it's now time, innit? I must admit, I'm backing Gabriel Jesus all the way, but Gabriel Jesus and Fabio Vieira is kind of last chance saloon for me. Tomiyasu and Gabriel Jesus, where we look at injuries, last season, last chance saloon. They have signed a bunch of duds. We've signed bare duds. Pablo Marie, another one. We've definitely signed some duds, but I think on the whole, in the last 3-4 years, I think the signings that we've signed, and they can't always go right, I think they've more worked than they haven't. There's definitely been some failures. What's extremely worrying is that we all know what's needed to win the league, but the board is not acting proactive. 3 signings needed, centre defensive mid, left wing and a striker. No more excuses this time round. I don't doubt that, but we don't know what the club's doing. I agree. I'm hella frustrated. You look at the last 2 years when we was in America. Yes, there wasn't international competitions per se, but we had the signings in, but we don't know what they're doing. Like, I'm exaggerating, but how do we know Edu isn't having a conversation with Lionel Messi right now? Of course, an exaggeration. You get the point. Deluded. They'll use Timber in midfield and Calafiori and Havertz from the left to centre attack, and Calafiori take left midfield spot. I mean, we'll have to see. Runnison dud as well. There's definitely been duds, but I do genuinely think the signings that have worked eclipse those that haven't. I'm not saying it's faultless, so I just don't agree with it being 50-50. I think it's more 60 that works and 40 that doesn't, essentially. But I think with the signings in the last 2 years in particular, with the main kind of players, we've got to a point now where we like to do this thing like Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is fantastic if he's part of the squad. If you're trying to make him your main man, ultimately you're going to get what you paid for. It just feels like if we do 1-2 things, they would have the world of good for us, man. I mean, Chido Obi-Martin is 16 years of age. It would not be the answer. Come on now. Let's be serious. He's 16 years of age. I do think he would have had a pathway here playing in the under-21s. You never know. Something could have happened, but Yeah, man. Come on. Don't be silly. 16 years of age, barely kicked proper ball like that. He's a generational talent, mate. No mistake. I think he's a generational talent. Sorry, definitely not. That's Ethan. I think he's a quality player, but at the same time, I think it's overdoing it, man. Like, a lot's being made. He's 16 years of age. Let the man develop physically as well as consistency wise. And take it from there. DG, you should put your PayPal in your links. I'd like to support, but it kills me. YouTube takes so much of a super chat donation, which makes it not possible. I appreciate that, David. One sec. In fact, it should be in my Twitter bio, man. But you know, to make life easier for you lot, why not? Appreciate that, man. Appreciate the thought, nonetheless, man. But 16-year-old Chido Obi-Martin. Okay, there's injuries to Kai Havertz and Jesus. Nobody's throwing him into a Champions League semi-finals, and it shouldn't be right, man. Let's not overdo it. And again, fair enough. I'm not buying anyone or trying to get anyone. But have you seen him play 90 minutes? Because the general play is not there. It's improved a lot. It's not there. He's defo very good. I love the way he pulls to that left-hand channel. He showed in the under-17 Euros for Denmark recently. He's a great player, but let's not overdo it. I would have loved for him to sign, and I understand where you look at Koza Dewberry and Walters and people of that ilk, you know, and the fact that we got no money from them, which is quite frustrating. But at the same time, Chido's different, you know. They've offered you a handsome pro contract when the time's right to do that. They've offered you that. You've spoken with Arteta. If you still don't want to stay, bearing in mind he has to want to sign a scholarship. You don't get the pro deal until you turn 17. Like, these are laws that go against England, where other clubs are kind of at an advantage in that regards. So it is what it is. Another one bites the dust, man. David, this email address, if that's what you want to do, my guy, man. I didn't say he can't make it. He's 16. He's not Lionel Messi. He's not Yalmao. Like, he's not Yalmao. He's not Lionel Messi. He's not Wayne Rooney. If he was, he'd be here or he'd be in the first team somewhere. I have no doubt he's going to have a great future. Let the man develop. And again, Rodney, I'm not saying you're wrong. Have you watched 90 minutes of him? Because I have. I can tell you how he struggled in the under-19s for Sevilla. I could tell you how he just excelled in the Euros. I could tell you how it's going viral that, you know, he scored 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 goals against Liverpool's youth side, which was a depleted academy that Liverpool had. He's a great player. One thing I like about him as well is that he's got good physical qualities, but he doesn't rely on his height. If you have watched 90 minutes / 10 games of his, then cool. Let's not overdo it. Like, he's not Lionel Messi, bro. He's got great stats. Benikophobia had great stats. Jubarakpom had great stats. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but a lot is being done. What were the 10 games you've watched of his 90 minutes? What are his weaknesses? When are moments where he struggled? And that's not me trying to catch him out. I don't want to hear what a player's good at 16 years of age. What is he bad at? Because you're not the finished article at 16. I hear it though, man. Watkins would be a superstar at Arsenal. It's this now, man. It's this now. With Watkins, it's going to cost a lot, man. We've seen Amari leaving, but didn't work. To be fair, it did work for Amari, because where would he be at Arsenal? He left. Whatever people say, people can laugh at Amari. Oh, he didn't make it at Chelsea. He left for money. If you did leave for money, you got better wages. You technically played Premier League football, albeit a couple of minutes at Chelsea versus Arsenal. You've gone on a loan that's worked in Ipswich, and that's seen you sign permanently and playing Premier League football. If you was at Arsenal, would you necessarily be in our first team? Would we have loaned you out to a club where you would have excelled as such? I don't know. If Eddie is gone, you think we get a striker? I hope so, but I think the club will say, you know what, you've got Gabriel Jesus, you've got Kai Havertz, you've got someone like Trossard that could play up there. We keep it moving, if I'm honest with you. DG, since it will most likely be Timber and Calafiori battling out for the left-back spot next season, which one out of the two would you start? Personally, I think Timber takes the spot. How do we know, though? Calafiori might start his career at Arsenal playing instead of Gabriel. You might see Timber and Benjamin White either side. Likewise, you might see any denomination of it. I don't know, man. I'm inclined to believe that it's going to be Calafiori, because statistically he's played most of his games at left-back. He's left-footed. You're signing him for X amount of million. Honestly, I don't know. At this moment in time, it depends, because obviously Calafiori's shiny new toy. We all want to see that, really. Timber, God, sometimes the football gods can be so cruel, because I think us Arsenal fans, we were robbed of Thomas Partey and Timber on a consistent basis last season. So it all depends. And obviously, you know, Calafiori is going to have to get up to speed with what Mikel Arteta demands of him individually and collectively. So that's going to be an issue in that regards as well. let me not fall for the shiny new toy stuff. I'm going to say Timber right now, but honestly, who knows, man? Like, honestly, you know, good problems, man. This is what we need. Good problems. Hit the like button if you haven't. And I mean, Calafiori said he looks at someone like John Stones, so you never know. And John Stones played all about the place. I think we're wasting Timber's talent. I really think he could become one of the best defensive mids in the Prem. Ooh. But Saliba was brought and then loaned at 18 and then brought back, and it shows by testing him as an example. I mean, that's the point, though. Like, that's kind of the point. Said Balogun wasn't the truth, doing well for himself, but not leading the line for Arsenal. And that's how it happens, man. Fans are going nuts, man. I have no doubt that he's gonna have a good career. DG sound a little bit rattled there about OBT United. How can I whenever I mention United, I've literally just kept saying, yeah, if that's what he thinks is the best for him, go and do your thing. I've got no begrudges about him, because likewise, you might not make it at Arsenal. At least if you make it or don't make it at Arsenal, United, or elsewhere, do your thing. Whenever I hear it, banter's got to run, but I never said anything, bro. Like, it is what it is. I'm used to young players leaving. I think that's something football clubs have to get used to, really. Patino ain't it. Patino is more like a relegation to lower centre mid. Bit harsh. I think Patino's very good, but I don't think you're going to make the grade. You haven't gone off to America, man. You ain't gone off to America. You haven't gone off to America with the lads, so it's a myth. Like, Arteta, logically, if you are kind of in that weird kind of bracket where you're a young player that's not really 21s, you're first team, but you're not really first team, and you're not in America right now, boy, that's me as a fan. That's telling me, boy, you're either going on loan or you're being sold. Unfortunately, I think Charlie will be sold, because again, you look at it, if we bring, and everyone plays in different kind of midfield roles, but everyone's a central midfielder, right? You've got Odegaard, who is a 10, but can play in that left 8 before you. Bearing in mind, we're trying to fight for Premier Leagues and all of these things, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be given a chance. Odegaard's going to play in that left 8 before you, if he has to be moved. Kai Havertz is going to play in midfield before you, Charlie. Fabio Vieira can't buy a game. He's going to play before you. Smith Rowe is going to play before you. Partey is going to play before you. Jorginho is going to play before you. My man, you know, Moreno, one of these guys, whoever comes in, is going to play before you. So that's literally 7 dons. There's 7 eligible players in theory competing for 2 spots, or 1 in Patino's mind, because it's Declan Rice and someone else. It don't make sense. Get the money. Let's keep it moving, man. I wouldn't even say that it's not that they don't rate him. It's, you know, it's a thing where you're still learning your craft, and Arsenal are trying to do certain things, really. I think the better we get as a football club, the less general opportunities there's going to be for young players. You know, I'm not saying they wouldn't have come through, because I think Saka is a bit like, you know, you look at the Sakas, you look at the Fodens, you look at the Yalmaus, you look at that guy that went to Marseille, you know, you look at those kind of exceptions to the rules. Teenage says Fabregas and Rooney, them young players that are exceptions to the rules, they just got up the levels. I think even if Saka was coming through right now, where we're a half decent football club, he would have come through. But that's an exception. But then you look at Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, Smith Rowe, indirectly, not the same, but Martinelli. One good thing as to why we were, you know, as to our point in time when we was rubbish, is these young players had a platform to play. You're not going to get that now. With this OB thing, people look at the wrong things. He scored a lot of goals. The bigger question is who supplied to get into consistent goal scoring. The creation is more. Listen, OB is a baller. Make no mistake, he's a baller. He's got that positive chip on his shoulder. I think his general plays improved as the season's gone on. I think he's got that. Obviously, he's a striker, but he's got that knack of scoring goals at vital moments. I think he's got the perfect blend, because normally when you're, boy, he's definitely must be taller than his dad. He's like 6 foot odd. He's a giant, or he looks like it. Anyways, you know, people normally rely. Strikers will just rely on that. Look at Lukaku. I'm a bully. I'm just going to bully everyone. Chido obviously does the bullying thing when he has to, but he will try and mix it up. He will try and play football, if that makes sense. If he wants to leave, cut, man. You know, if you develop, great. If not, boy, I've seen Thierry Henry leave this club, bro. Like, it is what it is. This season, we will regress, because I can't see us doing what we did last season with the same players who played over 40 games. We're about to get a reality check. Hope not, man. They said that the season before, the one that's just gone. I hope not, but it does feel like we either go up several gears or there's a bit of a regression, man. And I would like to see some signings roll in. Jesus needs to go. Sorry, winning ways, man. But yeah, man, I don't think Donny's a leave. Why is it not coming up? I don't think we can afford to sell him at this moment. Why is it not changing? There we go. I'm not selling. If you bring in another striker and a winger, people can go. I'm still a bit annoyed about Koji, Drewbury and Waters. Not really. I knew the writing's on the wall, essentially. For a long time, the writing's been on the wall. From a fan point of view, I'm annoyed because can't make no money. You know, fair enough. If they can't progress to the first team, then that's one issue. But they should be making profit for the football club. From a player point of view, and actually where I'm more inclined to, I think they're fully right. Why the fuck, pardon my French, why the fuck are you going to stay at Arsenal? I'm not criticizing Arteta for his lack of use of these players, but the reality is you've got some great defensive options. You have not been even given little man minutes to play. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. The pathway is blocked. It don't make sense. I'm sure both lads wanted to stay at Arsenal, play at Arsenal. You need to do what you need to do. Because if I'm Arsenal Football Club and they were both offered new deals, I'm not criticizing the club. And I hope we pull through on these promises. I'm selling them every dream under the sun. You're going to play. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I probably have every intention. But once you sign that 4 or 5 year deal, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't. Hey, big up Robert, man. Big up Deluded. Shouted you a couple months ago. Red Note, you're good. Hey, I remember this. You know, I've shouted you out. I've been saying big up the guy from Reading for the last couple of times. Big up you, man. That gave me a prep in my step, man. We need to cash out on these youths that's not going to make it. Cozy Dewberry could have been a cool 2 to 5 M's. And that's the thing. You know, you could have got something respectful for them, just like with Balogun, really. You know, I would have loved to have seen Balogun at least get opportunity to see what he could do. But if not, you had a great loan spell. We make our money. We keep it moving. And that's where we're killing ourselves in the academy. Personally, I think you need a lot under Arteta. I think you will need a lot. If you're not a Bukayo Saka, if you're not an Ethan, if you're not them kind of talents, for me, looking at this academy, if you're not them, you're going to struggle. You might need a bit of luck, God forbid. But let's just say I'm a steady Eddie right back. I'm like a black Gary Neville, really. I'm cool. Like in the modern day, obviously. I'm nothing amazing, but I could do a job. If there were, God forbid, but if there's injuries to Timber, Benjamin White, all these guys, and I have to play and I take my chance and I run with it, that's what the only reason I think that could kind of happen, man. Other than that, it's a madness. Apparently, we're in for Gurhey. If this is true, dead this season, unless we're going to part the bus all season. I'm having Gurhey. I don't know if it makes sense for Gurhey to sign for Arsenal. Like, you know, listen, we're a big club. Arteta's doing his thing. We're fighting City. If you relish the competition with Gabriel and Saliba, because Saliba has shown in the Euros that he can play on the left-hand side, great. But for me, I'm not going to say no, but it don't really make sense because you're going to have to take their spots. And it feels like we're kind of stocking more in a way that we're already stocked. Like I would like to see midfield, strikers, wingers, if that makes sense. If we can't get Nico, I'm going for Brahim Diaz or Doué. Seems like Doué is going to go Bayern Munich or PSG. They've been linked with him again. Nico Williams, I don't, unless Barcelona pull out of the race and some luck happens, I don't think we're grabbing him, if I'm completely honest with you. Big up you lot, people. Time is flying. You lot's talking points have been amazing. Let's get into some talking points that concern the football club. First up, though, people, you know, DG Nation, we're quite underrated. I need you lot's votes. It takes 30 seconds to vote for the guy, people. I voted for myself twice. I'm allowed to vote. So, yeah, man, we do that. We're in the room with the Chivas and that, and we're going clear in it. So, yeah, take 2 minutes and vote for that. Let's see what Mikel Arteta has said. We've got a lot. Timber spoken, Arteta spoken, transfer news. We've got a lot of tabs, man, to go through. The time will come when the contracts of these young players will be managed better. I hope so, man. It needs to be, man. We're losing money, bro. Think about it from a domestic point of view, yeah? Obviously, when we're talking about transfer fees, when you're hearing 50, 100, all crazy fees, £2 million doesn't sound great, but it costs about £1 to £3 million to keep the lights on at Hale End, our youth academy, right? So imagine if you got 10 million for Waters, 10 million for Koza Dewberry, all these other young players, they're bringing in 10s and 15s and 20s and Balogun fees. It's paying for itself. That could be reinvested to do other things. In the same way, you'd imagine that at least 2 of the 3, probably all 3, I hope not Smith Rowe and Ketia and Nelson are probably all gone, man. Once Arteta brings us Eze, Moreno, Bakayoko, Sasneto, we can sit here and chat about another defender. I hear it. On the mood of the camp, I'm not going to waste you lot's time with that. Respectfully, manager Mikel Arteta, we know it's going to be good. Obviously, he's happy Spain won the Euros, but he's also sympathetic to, you know, his players that played for England. He actually said he was nervous about Bukayo Saka taking the penalty. And it's interesting because I think it was on England's official YouTube account. Or YouTube channel, I can't remember, but Saka was speaking about the penalties and stuff. And I think he was bang on when he said, and I love the mentality from Saka. He's like, my friends and family and fans, they're more nervous for me than I actually am, essentially. And I think that will be the case forever, man. Saka, like, there's nothing more I can praise Saka. Like, forget his ability. He's a quality player. But the man, the person he is, like, It's your pleasure to have at this football club, and you're a testament to your family. Forget Arsenal or us at 1 second, man. It's like lost for words. It's Bukayo Saka. You are one guy. You're not Saka. Bukayo Saka. I don't get attached to players after Thierry Henry left. The last player I got semi-attached to was Alexis Sanchez. That was the last player I got on the back of my shirt. You are retiring here. I don't care if we never win, God forbid, a Premier League title. But Bukayo Saka, you are staying here for the rest of your life. It says, I got to put a full name. Should we put the Laguna? Yes, my friend, man. Appreciate you for doing that, man. Big up you lot who've done that. So yeah, big up Saka on his mental strength and all of that kind of stuff. Big up Arteta, but I want to kind of just get into what matters per se. Big up Miles Lewis-Skelly, another one. He comes from a great family, great mentality, very impressionable player. And I really want him to make it at this football club as well as Ethan, man. If them two don't get opportunities, then we have, pardon my language, fucked up. But nonetheless, on the season, and this is one thing I like about Arteta, because people can say, oh, Arteta don't want to win nothing. His toxic, positive fan base can make excuses, but at the end of the day, the manager is not happy with what we've done. When you are so close, you really want to grab it. But I think you have to analyze the whole thing. In the end, the outcome of this football club has to be to win major trophies. And we are in the process to achieve that. We are very close. The level that we are showing is extremely high, but it's not enough to win it. That's the target. So I would love to be able to ask Arteta, what do you think we're missing then? Because you said we're close. Now, as fans, we're all speaking about signings and areas, but not only signings, what else is missing from the squad? I would love to ask him that. Like, what is missing? Because it feels like we're here. The Prem thing is there. It's fine margins that make the massive difference now, really and truly. Because it's not a thing where we need major surgery. And one thing I like is the manager and the players are not gonna rest on their laurels, man. Which would hurt more, Van Persie going to United or Saka going to Man United, man? Because Van Persie, like, we were shit them times, bro. Like, I've never been one of those guys. Like, at that time, like, listen, football's about emotion. I love Arsenal Football Club. Like, I love everything, but I'm quite able to detach and look at situations, and I'm not one of those fans that get excited, as you lot can see. Like, when I mean excited, like doing a bit too much, but. So I can kind of understand. I always try and sympathize from the players. I can't begrudge Van Persie. Van Persie said, yo, I want to do this. Juventus are on me. They didn't want to say Juventus. United, I want to go there with my thing. It is what it is. I can't begrudge him, Adebayor, Nasri, definitely Thierry Henry. I can't begrudge any of these players because you've got one life to live. You know, what's the alternative, really and truly? You know, being a one club man, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's just say I'm 23, my team isn't doing what I want it to do. Real Madrid are onto me, and they only asked to sign me once, and I don't go. Okay, cool. I've stayed at my club, I've showed my loyalty, and I've gone from 23 to 33. I'm asking the football club for a 2-3 year contract. They're saying, no, sorry, mate, we can only give you a year or no contract at all. What am I going to get? A testimonial? Fans are going to love me. The minute I retire, nobody cares anymore. Nobody care. Obviously, people care. The minute Messi and Ronaldo retire, it's not that people don't care. You're not relevant anymore. It's the new ones who are about now. So I've always thought, do what you need to do in your career. You've only got one career. The average professional career is 9 years and whatnot. Nobody told us to persist with Van Persie when he had all those injuries. It sucks a bit because the minute he became really lit, it was a madness. But yeah, man, I don't think Arteta is wrong with what he said there on how close we are to achieving his initial goals. We're certainly heading in the right direction, and we are traveling at a really high speed with the things that we have transformed, not only in the footballing side, but I think a club as well. Now what is missing is to bring the big titles home, pick him up. Obviously, it's important what we're doing in America. On transfer updates, Arteta said, no, unfortunately not, but we know there are certain positions that we want to improve and give the squad better resources, especially in terms of numbers where we are very short. Pardon me. Now, that is interesting for me because are we necessarily short defensively? We know in reality, Tomiyasu and Zinchenko pick up knocks. You're kind of having to play Saliba and Benjamin White regardless. So we know we're kind of short defensively. For me, I thought central midfield. I think we're very short there. So hopefully we're trying to do what we need to do. On Tomiyasu's injury, it's unbelievable because the kid worked so hard. He had an incident in training this week, and we don't yet know the extent of the knee injury. But as a precaution, we kept him in England. We'll see what happens. Hopefully there's nothing to worry about. But the very fact that he's kept in England could be a thing there. Obviously, we've been to America before, so we won't worry about that. On Timber, he said he's so willing. You can see that in his body language and the way he acts. He has worked so hard. I think he's in a really good place at the moment. moment. We're going to have to manage him now in the next few weeks, especially because the load he has been able to do in the last few months compared to the next 2 weeks is different. But we are very excited on whether he felt down last season. Obviously, he had his moments. It's not easy to come to a big club here and start to set expectations with his performances, and then on one day in the Premier League, you're out for the season. But mentally, he's a really tough boy. He has a very great environment around him, and hopefully that will make him a better player. Obviously, I love Timber, man. I love Timber. I love what we're doing. He said he's a leader. He loves to be on show and a big presence in everything that we do. He's very vocal and extremely gifted technically. He's a great addition to the team. On getting our business done early, he said, yes, from day one, I'd have everyone. That would be my choice. Then he said, I don't know. There's still a lot to go in this window. Edu, the board, and everyone at the club are working hard. Right, Donnarumma to Man City. That's crazy. Real world, you got to make money to prepare for the future. Loyalty to the club is fine, but what happens when you retire? There you have it. It's a two-way street, bro. Like, and half of these legends, bro, Rooney wanted to cut several times. Steven Gerrard wanted to cut from Liverpool a couple times. Patrick Vieira, for fans that are old enough, where's Inner Circle? Because he's older than me. I was a kid, but I can still remember every year it seemed like Patrick Vieira was ongoing Real Madrid and whatnot. All of them want to cut half the time. Timber needs to start. DG just voted for you, man. They asked some serious questions about you, DG. They should make sure you vote. And they asked why you voted. Make sure you write why you would vote. Don't leave it blank. David, God bless you. And everyone else, man. My dream signing would be Palmer. Bro, if we signed Cole Palmer, bro, I'm not going to lie. It's very reactionary. But Mikel Arteta, you must have come across Cole Palmer in your City days. You bought Jesus and Zinchenko. He would have been perfect for us. Like, he can play in a bunch of roles as well. Ironically, he could have went to West Ham before Chelsea intervened, man. And what I like about Palmer is it's the mentality, man. I think that's I think Foden's better than him, but I think Palmer's better than him because Palmer don't seem phased. I'm on this. Foden is scared. If I'm honest, doing a watch along for any games out here in the States. Yeah, I am. You should check the pin message on YouTube. We start Thursday, 3:30 a.m. UK time. We're definitely doing that. And then I think, so I'll be live. You lot have to allow me. I know I go live an hour typically before the watch alongs, but half an hour for these unsociable ones. I'm doing the Thursday one. I think that's Bournemouth. So we kick off at 3:30 a.m. UK time. So I'll be live from 3 a.m. in the morning. Sunday, I think we kick off at 1 a.m. So I'll be live from midnight. And then I think we've got Liverpool the following Thursday from next Sunday. And I think that's our American tour done, really. United, Bournemouth, Liverpool. I think that's the 3 games. Obviously, the Emirates Cup, we've got that. Unfortunately, people, the first game of the season against Wolves, I won't do a watch along. But after that, it's normal service. So, yeah, that's what Mikel Arteta has had to say in relation to Timber, who, you know, we're all having that conversation. Oh, Timber, Calafiori, what's going on there? It's a great conversation to have, man. As I said, we prayed for days like this. I do agree with what Social Joins is saying in that we need to take time with Timber with his ACL, but at the same time, I think he's raring to go, man. Let's see exactly what he said, man. He said, I had an amazing break, a couple of weeks off, and I had some time to get fit again, but obviously I need it for my knee, so I feel in a good place right now. He said, I played everywhere in the back, to be fair. Last pre-season, I started a lot as left back and I enjoyed it as well, so I'm happy to play. I spoke about it with Ben White as well. I think it's good to be versatile, just to play more positions. You're also able to get more minutes then, I think, and the coach can put you in more places. I think it's nice for him as well, and I'm just hoping to play anywhere. And to be fair, you know, with the exception of Gabriel, Saliba can play right back, but we don't want to see that. Like what? Calafiori, Timber, Tomiyasu. You can force it and say Kirill. You got some versatile. Zinchenko is still on paper. Got some versatile. Benjamin White. Got some versatile players, man, really and truly. And then he went on to say on the depth, he said, I think it's good. And it's good for the team. At the end of the day, you want to win prizes. You need everyone for that. So I think it's fun and good for everyone to lift each other up. But I want to be the one to play. Moving away from that, I mean, at this point, I think I speak for every Arsenal fan. We only really want to speak about Calafiori once he is officially signed, but nonetheless, allegedly, reports in Italy say he is one step away from joining Arsenal for 50 million euros, people. He's obviously been left out of Bologna's training camp as the move to Arsenal is beginning to take shape. Bologna have practically closed an agreement with Arsenal. It's claimed there will be definitive white smoke, whatever that means, for an agreement between the two clubs in the next few hours. As we know, Basel are entitled to 50%, and it seems like Basel, Bologna, and Roma are all kind of fighting over who's owed what from this move. That's their business. Let's just get things done. So yeah, Arteta also said we have to improve. Perfection in this league requires different standards to relate that to word to winning the Premier League, and that's exactly what we have to do. We need to upgrade in everything we are doing. We have to improve in every area, and that's what we are trying to do. When asked on Calafiori, I mean, he's taken a leaf out of Wenger's book, where he's obviously not going to be drawn on specific names unless it's more or less done. And we went over how we felt about Saka and Benjamin White sadly losing the Euros. Apparently, I can't find this online, but Timber also said it was a big blow at the start. It was huge. It's never fun to be injured, but I tried to look at it in a positive way. It's not that hard to be positive when you see how they were performing last year. It gets you motivated to join them and help them. Hopefully, he has a clear run. Arteta is eyeing more additions, as we know. Apparently, people were interested in Mikel Moreno and Atletico Bilbao winger Nico Williams. Whether we're able to do that is a completely different ball game. And Nketiah is still attracting interest from Marseille, and they're expected to try and accelerate his deal once again. We're moving closer to the Calafiori stuff. The Athletic spoke about Arsenal's transfer plans. They did speak about Ivan Toney. It's fair to say Ivan Toney is not going to sign for us, Arsenal Football Club. His name, Man United were name dropped there. I think Spurs will go for him as well, if I'm honest. I think he'd be good for United. I think he'd be good for us, but I don't think he'd be the first choice. Phil, off topic, but don't you lot feel sorry for David De Gea? Like mentally, like I know De Gea had a lot of issues, but he's really not been without a club for a year. You can't go Middle East and get a club or anything of that ilk. Really? I don't know, but nonetheless, let's keep it moving. I haven't seen this. I'm trying to scroll towards Arsenal people. It says PSG are interested in Nico Williams and have made tentative contact. He's contracted until 2027, and we all are well aware of his release clause of 55 million euros. Due, who one of you spoke on, is drawing interest from PSG and Bayern Munich. Would love us to get interested in that. I mean, Arthur Melo, remember when we was linked with him? That's crazy. But yeah, scrolling all the way down there, we go Arsenal. Arsenal completed the signing of 18-year-old goalkeeper Tommy Setford in time for him to join the 26-man squad that has gone on tour to the US. I've done a video on him specifically, so that will come out today or tomorrow, by the way. The club are working to complete the signing of Bologna's Calafiori for 45 million euros. A significant slice of that will be due to Basel. Bologna signed him from the Swiss club last summer for just 4 million euros with a sell-on clause of between 40 and 50%. And I think that's something, going back to Calafiori, what I think is going to be quite interesting, because obviously he spent a long time at Roma, but he went Basel, he was there for a year. He's gone to Bologna, he's been there for a year. Obviously, unless he turns out to be a complete dud, which I don't think is going to be the case, Arsenal is the first club in a while where he's going to be here for a couple of years and have some real stability. So be interesting to see that dynamic, man. Again, he's been left out of the Bologna training camp. Is this the end for Smith Rowe? That makes me sad. But the article said, quite possibly, Arsenal have already declined a bid from Fulham and are fielding interest from elsewhere in the Premier League. There are players that Mikel Arteta and Arsenal would prefer to sell ahead of Smith Rowe. Arteta remains a huge fan of the player, and the club have not been particularly... I can't say that people Armand did with midfielders available on the market this summer. The wishes of the player may be the determining factor. If Smith Rowe expresses a firm desire to leave and Arsenal receive a suitable offer, the club are unlikely to stand in his way. Arsenal would like to strengthen in midfield and the forward line, although additions in these areas might require departures first. Do they really require departures? Really? I hear it. Nelson cuts, Eddie cuts, I hear it. Aside from Smith Rowe, Arsenal are open to offers for Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah. West Ham want Nelson, and Marseille would like to sign Nketiah. Their agent is going to make a lot of money. Nelson ain't got the same agent, but he used to have the same agent as Balogun and Nketiah. Now Chido Obi-Martin. He's thinking he's going to make a lot of money. I would have thought Saka's contracts, which seem to happen every year, keeping the light bills on. The French club would prefer a loan deal, but Arsenal would like an upfront fee, which I think is great. The impending arrival of Calafiori is likely to obviously facilitate potential departures in defence. Arsenal would listen to offers for Jakub Kivior and Zinchenko. Tierney is also highly likely to leave. So we haven't really learned anything beyond. We know the club would like to bring in a central midfielder and a winger, or another attacking addition in addition to what we're doing with Calafiori. The names being linked there, they've all probably been linked with clubs before, people. So there ain't really anything new in that regards. Arsenal intend to keep Gabriel Jesus after crunch fitness talks. Apparently, Arsenal are determined to keep him despite reported interest from Saudi Arabia. Club sources have described the 27-year-old as being fitter than ever, and this has been attributed to a series of crucial discussions with Mikel Arteta and Edu. My guy's back. 15 league goals next season. You heard it here first. Gabriel Jesus, I ain't got the chest to say 20 in it, but trust me, he's back this year. Clip that up. I'll deny it's me and say, yeah, he's back. You lot are going to eat your words. Chelsea or Arsenal to hijack Williams. Come on, man. They're just saying the same things. Barcelona are going to try and move heaven and earth before they walk away from that. Gabriel's position at Arsenal could be in doubt as Calafiori deal close. I mean, he can play as a centre-back and you can't rule that out. But, you know, we talk about versatility. You know, this is what we need. There's 38 Premier League games. God knows how much when you factor all the comps. Everybody stand up to fight in it. And I think it's not that Calafiori can't take his space because he's got all the potential in the world, but I think it's quite disrespectful to Gabriel because he was one of our best players last season. So it's his spot to lose. Calafiori, I want you to have the mentality of, I don't care who is at left back or who is at centre half, I'm taking someone's spot. And if you're playing in those existing roles already, don't let him take it. And give Arteta a headache. I think that's what we want. Really a big fan of how this has happened. Again, you know, the news around Eddie Nketiah is saying that, you know, Arsenal want an obligation to buy. Marseille are the only club really and truly linked with him or being putting offers in of recent, allegedly, people. So we'll see how that develops. Is there anything we've missed out while we've been live as well? Not really. I guess we'll spin the block for that if that's the case. Wolves have offered Dan Bentley a new contract after turning down bids from Arsenal. As you know, we've tried to get him. Mikel Moreno, according to Keith Marine, is getting closer to Arsenal, allegedly. If you haven't subscribed or smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. Romano has said the interest from Arsenal and Mikel Moreno remains absolutely strong. Arsenal made several calls on the player side to confirm their interest. Moreno is one of the candidates for midfield, but not the only one, but the interest is genuine. If he was the only one, we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? Big up Kaya. He has said it's not thought that Arsenal will be bringing in any superstar names this summer necessarily. Instead, the club policy this window is to acquire players who can raise the level of the squad in a similar manner to recent signings, Jorginho and Trossard. How do you lot feel about that, people? You know, because I know a lot of you probably really and truly don't want to hear that. Marseille are working on a loan deal for Nketiah that includes an obligation to buy. They've made an opening offer for the player last week to kick negotiations off, but they're yet to find an agreement with Arsenal. So there's no deal at this moment in time, people. Arsenal are to submit an improved offer, people, for Dan Bentley as Mikel Arteta searches for an Aaron Ramsdale replacement. Apparently, we increased our offer to 300k, allegedly, and Southampton have been linked with Ramsdale. Unless it's a loan, I don't know anything, but unless it's a loan, do you really see a club that's just been promoted from the Championship and it's no guarantee they stay up, spending 50 million on Aaron Ramsdale? But that's before we talk about what he's probably on 100 odd grand a week in terms of wages. I'm not too sure. Or would it be more feasible for a loan? Speaking of goalkeepers, big up Tommy Setford. Apparently, Charles Watts said Arsenal identified Tommy Setford as an exciting talent they believe can develop into a young, talented keeper. He has been brought in to be first choice for the 21s this season, but he'll also work with David Ryan, senior keepers, on a regular basis at London Colney during the week as the club look to fast track his development. This time next year, if he's not on loan or within the next 18 months, if he's not on loan, then something's gone wrong because you're not going to learn too much playing in the under-21s. You're going to get to that scenario where you need to be tested. Apparently, Mikel Moreno would prefer to stay in Spain, so that adds fuels to the fire where Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are concerned. He does have a release clause of 60 million euros, but he has 1 year left on his contract. Atletico and Barca are vying for his services, as said there, people. So we'll have to see. But where Dani Olmo and Nico Williams are concerned, surely, unfortunately for Moreno, unless something goes wrong there or whatever, surely he's not a priority per se to Barcelona. They want to get them deals done first. Chelsea have also been interested, but despite Chelsea's interest, Arsenal are the team Mikel Moreno would like to join the most. While Moreno is Arteta's midfield priority, Real Sociedad are expecting a formal offer from the Premier League that will satisfy their demands. Got a year left. We've sent a proposal to Moreno and now preparing to make an offer to Sociedad. He's getting closer and closer to Arsenal. The agreement between the clubs is still missing, says Mundo Deportivo. Again, Mikel Moreno has informed Atletico Madrid that their project does not convince him. The options available to him now are Arsenal and Barcelona. They want to sign him for around 30 million euros. Arsenal are ready to offer a much higher money, but the good relationship between João Laporta and the president of Sociedad keeps Barcelona in the race. Allegedly, reports in Italy once again are saying Calafiori's transfer to Arsenal will reach the definitive white smoke in the next few hours. Moreno still being linked with us at this point. We're saying the same things regarding him, and you can see the various different news outlets that have spoken in relation to him, people. Some are, I guess, more credible than others, some less so. We've spoken about Kivior and Zinchenko's potential future being impacted. Arsenal would like to strengthen the midfield and the forward line, although addition in these areas might require departures first. We've gone over Smith Rowe. We've gone over that. just in terms of a recap. We've definitely gone over that. See, I don't try and miss anything for you lot. We've definitely gone over Eddie and Nketiah more times than I would have liked. And we've been linked with Conde from Barcelona. Again, people, we're prepared to pay 42 million. I don't think a single Arsenal fan in this chat believes that. I don't doubt it. Apparently, he was our first choice, the Athletic said before we got Benjamin White. But it's fair to say the case is shot in that regards, man. What are you lot saying? Because I just had to get through that. I don't understand fans that get upset when players leave, especially for better opportunities. Completely understood why Van Persie left. Because football's a tribal sport, man. Yeah, 3:30 a.m., man. Wahi, decent player, man. Ain't really hit the heights, but ain't he a bit dodgy off the field. We have 8 great group games, in the Champions League this season. If that's right, definitely going to need a bigger, better squad. Amen. I don't want him, but I think he'll do Barca a favour and end up buying Rafinha because Nico will want to play for Barca rather than us. But happy birthday, Marcel. Pray for your liver. Drink responsibly. Big up Marcel, man. Big up yourself, man. I hope you're doing well and safe, man. This year or next year, João Gomez, Vitaya, I think you mean, Camavinga, Musiala, Wirtz are the kind of buyers we should be looking to buy in midfield to become an elite side for the next couple of years. Well, if we can get any of them names, I'm on that. And let's just make sure we're cozy with Real Madrid because we obviously got Ceballos for a couple of years. Obviously, we brought in Odegaard because, unpopular opinion, I think they might sell Tchouaméni one day in the next 2 years. I don't have any evidence of that, but I think, in fact, better yet, let's not get hung up on names. Let's just be receptive because I don't know if we ever thought Ozil would have been available. Let's just make sure we're there. João Gomez from Wolves is lit, man. We need that Moreno left centre mid, broski. With DG, would you want Rice to play in the 6 or the 8? I would want him to do both. I think there's contexts for both, really and truly. I want us to have the luxury of doing both. You know, obviously, Declan Rice, prior to signing for Arsenal, over 200 games and a Conference League winner playing as a number 6 and an international footballer. I do like the 8 row I see of him, and it is an 8, don't get twisted, but I more want a Santi Cazorla kind of guy to be the 8 in this team. But if 2 people can be multifunctional, why not, man? Why not, man? Big up yourself, John, man. Timber has a skill set to play 8. I mean, the more versatile, the better for us, man. If I'm honest, Eddie would cook in Liga. I think Eddie with a platform will be a decent striker to some degree, man. If Laka can be top goal scorer, Eddie would cook in Marseille. I haven't seen that much of Timber, but besides Odegaard, he's my favourite player to watch kickball in this side. Purely at the art of watching play football without all the other factors, I think Odegaard's the most enjoyable to watch. And then I would probably say for me, Gabriel Jesus, if I'm honest. Only in Arsenal, we give players so much sympathy. Does Diaz, Ake, Stones, and Kanji complain for not playing at City? I see what you did there. Nope. Competition for places is the reason City win titles, losers mentality. They lied. Champions League plus Emirates, they said would make us compete. To be fair, only in the last few years has the club looked like they're coming close to that promise because for years we were lied to, man. We were lied to, but we did have to sell. And I think Arsene Wenger deserves a lot of props for that, man. Tchouaméni coming in next summer once Partey presumably leaves, let me manifest. Seems like a cheap window for us. New financial year, clean slate. PSR and FFP, all targets are not eye-catching. Seems squad depth is the focus again, sadly. We have champs money, makes no sense. You know what? If these players come in and they do the job, because going back to the City thing, obviously when you sign a Grealish and you sign a Haaland, these are sexy signings, but this country really wasn't convinced on John Stones. This country wasn't convinced on Ake. Ake was playing for Bournemouth and that. You know, there's been a couple of decent kind of buys. So as long as they do the right job, I don't really care. But at the same time, as long as they're competent. But at the same time, I do agree from a fan point of view in that I like the Calafiori thing, but at the end of the day, as a defender, you're sitting there. There's not really anything beyond, you hope with another year of experience, the players do better. Small hope that the club surprise you. You're not really sitting there and going, oh, you know what, we're defo stronger, if that makes sense. City reportedly moving in on Eze. Should Arteta and Edu be looking to snatch that signing? Yeah, why not, man? Why not, man? But we're going to have to hold it, man. I wouldn't mind Pedro Neto at the carpet, man, but it comes down to injuries and the fee. I think he's more attainable than Nico Williams. I think had there not have been a Euros, I think 2 things. Had there not have been a Euros where Nico Williams is concerned, and had he not have signed that initial new deal, because he'd be entering this summer in the last year of his contract, maybe we'd have a chance, man. I think we could sell a good proposal to him, but it just seems like anyways, he's got his heart set on Barcelona. He seems like he's keen to stay in Spain. And you would imagine on top of, them talking to his agents, you'd imagine Yalmao, Gavi, Pedri, anyone else that's in that squad that's connected to Barcelona are gassing him up. But you never know, man. David Raya might have been his roommate in the Euro 2024 campaign. He could have done something for us, man. So yeah, man, we're just gonna have to see, man. We're really just gonna have to see. Don't have to be huge names like Fofana and Eze. Would have been easy additions regardless of sales. Both lit and versatile and offer the team much more. Downgrade more current starters to the bench. I mean, you're right, man. I mean, Eze would be great. Fofana, I never thought the club was quite convinced on him, but Eze would be amazing for us. You know, half of Eze and Nico Williams, like, in fact, just Nico Williams and Calafiori would make me a lot more confident because that left-hand side has been upgraded, but we're just gonna have to get on with it, man. I'm gonna reserve judgment until the end of the transfer window, man. But yeah, people, let me go and edit some videos for you lot. Don't forget to vote for the guy. And as usual, you lot's talking point, you lot have been superb. Your talking points, your differences of opinions, all of that stuff. It's always amazing being here with you lot. If there's any other emerging news of significance or any significant rumors, you know you're going to get videos and live streams and all of that. I think at 7 p.m. I've got some sort of video coming out. I'm sure I do, people. So yeah, check out the rest of the content. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.
Against this right back, Charlie.